Yo, YouTube, what is good? It's Aeghis. In this video, I'm just going to be going over some gameplay of some Frost RM2v2 footage that I had. They were some pretty decent games. It's with one of my older friends here from Warlords of Draenor, my first arena partner actually. His name is Serenade X. I call him Adam. Basically, we were playing twos yesterday on stream, and we actually had like a really good chain of wins. We got up to like 2-2 MMR, which is pretty good for right now. You know, I think 2-2 as RM is kind of like where Explicit and I were when we were playing RM2s a lot. So I'm just going to start the game here. The first matchup that we have is against Outlaw Disc Priest. So this comp is very aggressive. Basically, the Priest is going to try to play really aggressive on you. The ideal opener, because you don't want to open first into this. For one, if your rogue opens first, then they get to counter with like stun DR on your rogue, or they can just get a lot of pressure on you by blinding your rogue early. So really what you have to do is you have to either stall for the eye while taking the least amount of damage possible, and I will show you how to do that. So basically you can see I walk in, I try to get, so this is actually a good scenario because I get dotted, which means I can't really get sapped. So I go in usually, if they're not on their mount, I'll let it play out here. If they're not on their mount, I'll slow them. You can see he gets off his mount, so I put a slow up on him. I'm trying to bait him to dot me. He dots me, I steal his fortitude, and now I'm just lining him forever. I'm trying to get a remount. You can see he feathers his dots off. I get sapped with a dot. You can see as I'm going around the pillar, I'm literally spamming my slow keybind. If you watch, like, as I'm running around the corner, I'm spamming slow. This makes it to where it's really hard for the Priest to catch you. He gets 2 globals on me, but I just stay mounted. Really just trying to delay time here until 2350, because, or sorry, 2330. That's when the eye comes out. So I'm just trying to delay as much. My sap DR falls here in 3 seconds. So I'm probably going to get sapped up. That's why I'm not rebarriering. He mind games me, but doesn't do too much. I root him. Rebarrier here. I do have a dot. You can see I'm spamming slow. I finally get it. One thing that you need to do a lot as well is watch how I'm like turning the corners. I'm trying to turn as min-max as possible. So I'm turning, if I turn my camera up like I'm doing here, I can see a little bit better. You can leave blizzards on the corner here. He slows himself trying to walk into it. I know this opener is extremely boring. I hate this opener. It's just what you have to do at the high ratings into these like teams who play hyper aggressive on you. You need every scenario to go perfect, and if you give them the opener, it's really tough a lot of the time to come back. So you can see the eye comes out. I root him so he can't get it. Then I get it, lock him on penance, and then I double DB. You can see I'm not pressing icy veins this go. Basically, one thing you'll notice this game is how greedy I am with my icy veins, and you'll see why later. So you can see how I do my damage rotation here on the first one. Lock him on penance. That way I am taking less damage, and also he can't use pain suppression in the upcoming cheap shot. So I double DB. Actually, I double DB, so he wouldn't have been able to use PS anyways. So double DB, I already have my flurry on the guy, so this is really, really good. This is how I know for sure I won't have to veins this, because normally what you would do here is you would like double DB, sheep this, the healer, and then your rogue would go the enemy rogue, and then you would Ray of Frost into your flurry, or sorry, you would flurry into Ray of Frost, but since I already have the Winter's Chill stacks on him, I know 100% I don't need to veins this one, because I'm saving a global, so I get the full Ray tick off. He has to Trinket Vanish. I alter, but I noticed earlier that he pressed Shadow Fiend on me, so it breaks me out. My rogue greeds. Something with Outlaw is the damage sort of ramps up over time, so my rogue was good there to greed his Trinket. Now I'm just trying my best to live here. I root him for a global. Try to get a shifting power off here. This is how you want to set up a lot of your goes. Either that could have been a pre-gouge or a pre-panda, and then you would send the cheap shot, because you can see I don't have DB yet. I could have gotten my DB back had I orbed in between, So that is something I could have looked to do. However, I still had my panda, so I didn't opt to do that on this go. I wanted to save it for the go after. So he cloaks. That's even something better that you could panda over that. If you're not playing panda though, this is the thing you would do here. You would gouge and cheap shot. He could PS this one. He actually greeds it. I think personally they made a mistake here trying to greed the PS. So you can see again, I don't Veins because he trades instantly. I was actually going to Veins this go because I knew he would have to trinket if I did, and it would carry over into the next go as well. So I knew that Veinsing this go would force the trinket, and that it would, I would still have it on the following go, because Veins last like 30 something, 35 seconds. So most of the time it lasts you 2 goes. But he trinkets right away. He kicks the games. I have to go over here and block. So this is kind of sketchy because when your rogue kicks like the Shadow School, I was actually going to block that games, and then ideally they want to save their kick for the MD. Something you can look to do a lot, like let's say I had Counterspell here. I'll show you here. So he kicks the games. One thing I could do if I had Counterspell is I would Counterspell this Penance, and then I could block. Because if you Counterspell them on Penance, they're locked on Holy, and then they can't cast Mass Dispel. So I'm forced to go into block here. It's fine though, because he doesn't MD right away. He MDs now. I get gouged. Blast Wave him. I force out a mobility option here. So I trinket that kidney, because notice I'm playing Shimmer. So really good that I was able to hold my trinket for this long. It saves me here. This is something that's kind of small, but you can see the priest. I root him, I alter, and then I'm just making sure the priest is never in my line here. One thing I do notice is that the rogue has been he hasn't like been in combat for quite some time, or he hasn't been like using globals on people, keeping himself in combat. So I know the rogue is looking to re here, and that is game losing if this rogue gets a re, especially because we don't have like a rupture on him. So one thing I'm trying to do here is keep the rogue. I walk a little bit more into their line to force them back over here. Hold on, thing's not playing. Boom. So my rogue forces them into me, which is good. And then I use a Shimmer and then a root because I know he's about to re. And then I alter back immediately so I don't get a global on me. So I keep them and I'm still avoiding confrontation. He tries to pre-dome, and basically when we see this, you can try to do 2 things. You could try to Blast Wave them out, or you could just wait. We opt to just wait here. Also notice we still have blind. So what you usually want to do in this situation is you want to send a pre-blind on the rogue, because that is kind of the hardest part. You could also send blind on the priest here, but it's just better to be able to pre-blind, cheap shot this guy, and then since he has pain suppression, you would want to DB over it. Or you could have the rogue build up combo points early, blind this guy, pre-DB this guy, and then go with that, and then you go with your full kidney. All these work. We do screw up a little bit here. So the pre-gouge, this priest could have feared on this global, I'm pretty sure, on the pre-gouge. So we did get a little bit lucky. I think this should have been, or maybe he was trying to death blind, actually. That's what it looks like. So, I mean, it was a good try on his end, but we actually win the game here. I come out of my block, and I DB. So my DB hits the priest, ensuring that he can't use pain suppression. Then I use my Icy Veins to increase my cast speed. Sheep, Flurry, Ray of Frost. Let the last tick go off. I actually got kind of unlucky with crits here, because even when you do it into Flurry, you still only have like a 65-70% chance to crit. So DB, no PS, Veins, Flurry, Ray of Frost. Get a little bit unlucky here with crits. Lance. I have to time that resheep. So I think a lot of other mages would use another Ice Lance global here, and I'll show you why that's wrong. So notice this is my first Veins of the game. We need Veins on this go, or else we definitely would not have killed. So I throw 1 Lance, and then you have to re-CC on that global. So I have to re-CC here. I can see I get it, and then I throw my Lance, which procs his cheat death. So that's why you wouldn't want to only Lance. because if I were to have Lance instead of going for re-CC, Cheat Death would have saved him, and the Priest would have been able to press Life Swap. I throw my Flurry. I try to get one more sheep. I barely time it. Ice Lance into the Flurry, and he goes down. So I'll let that play back now so you guys can watch it in full time, because I realize I've been skipping it around a whole bunch. DB over, Flurry, Ray, Lance, Resheep, Ice Lance, Flurry, Resheep, Shimmer away to avoid Gouge, Ice Lance, and then he dies. Keep in mind we still had blind this whole time, so it was a little bit sketchy, but yeah, let's get into the next game here. This is another game versus them. As you can see here, I'm just kiting, getting the blizzards down on the corners. Cutting around the pillar, spamming slow if he ever gets near me. Not re-barriering here because I know the rogue will sap me. So he actually sends Vanish, which is good by him, which means I have to Trinket Panda this one, and I'm also Thought Stolen. I have a tell me one that puts me when I'm Thought Stolen. Tells me when I'm Thought Stolen rather. So I ring this, I'll back that up. Find the rogue. DB, he vans it though. That's fine. That just means I have to trade Trinket Panda, Ring of Frost. Not popping Veins. I was going to Flurry Ray that with Badge. You should always Badge the first go too. Like you should use Badge separately than your Veins, because you need to force this go. So now I'm just kiting him. My rogue disarms. Decent altar time. One thing I do here, since I'm going back, the priest is about to get in my line to purge my altar. Since I have 2 shimmers and I'm playing displacement when I play 2s, I know when I alter back, it'll grant me another blink charge. So what I do here is I shimmer into the wall to give myself a displacement beacon, and then I alter back. You'll see. Drop the displace beacon, alter back, gives me my second shimmer back, so I didn't waste one. And now my displacement is over here, so I can use that to further kite. You can see I double root, displace back. And now I'm even more alive, and the only cooldown I had to use to live there in between the go with 2 players on me playing extremely aggressive, using stuff aggressively to catch me, was altar time. And I still have both my shimmer charges. So that worked out perfectly. I root this guy, lock him on penance. Now I'm trying to fake death here. Actually, it doesn't look like he has death, so he melds it. My rogue gets, I don't even know, to be honest, but I have to send block. I don't know if he didn't have Mass Dispel here. I think he just forgot to talent into it because he logged over to his other character or something, thankfully. In this scenario, my rogue pre-gouges. However, I notice that he is just like, slowly walking to the priest. So I know that we need more time, more pre. So I try to pre-DB. I would probably follow that up with a cheap shot, but he does get dispelled. Cloaks, sends the blind. Kidney. Now I Veins this one because I know I'll have it the next go, and I didn't expect him to trade his trinket instantly like this because he got the pre-cloak. So he pre-cloaked. I thought the priest was going to try to sit this, so I Veins kind of at the same time. And then you can see here I'm trying to get re-CC on this guy now because I don't think the go is completely over. This guy traded. We still have a lone kidney. I've already committed Veins. Now I'm looking to get some kind of CC on the priest here. So I try to sheep him, fake death, blink fear, and then I get my Flurry Ray. So I'll kind of show you what gave away the fact that this priest wanted to death and fear me. So again, I pre-DB, dispels it into cloak. So he knows I'm looking for CC on his trinket here. I'm casting sheep. He deaths it. I cancel it. I see the only thing that he has is fear for me. So I know that he's going to try to fear me after that. That's also just like a rep thing. I've been in that scenario 1,000 times. Sheep, blink fear, flurry. I still have my Veins. Ray, actually critting this time. Double lance, flurry. And he actually dies through cheat death with Flurry. Flurry is the best ability you can use to proc cheat because it doesn't do a lot of damage. And if you throw like a really big spell into cheat death, they get a fatter cheat death. So if I were to like glacial into cheat death, they would not die for the whole 3 seconds. But if you actually proc it with Flurry, you can see the cheat death only brings him up to like 290 health. I don't know why it works like that. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But Flurry is definitely one of the best spells you can use to proc cheat death. And then, yeah, we win the game there. So let's watch another game now against a different comp. This is a good one because this is an awful map for you, especially against stuff that can purge you. So we get the pre-sap. This is kind of like one of your best openers that you can get, is like a pre-sap on the monk into a build full kidney. If you guys don't know what I mean by that, basically your rogue doesn't have a mark for death, or he doesn't have a way to instantly build up a kidney shot. So you want to sap the guy you want to kill, then you want to cheap shot the other target to build a kidney. So this is like, maybe some mages would get baited into seeing this and they'd be like, oh, okay, sap on this guy, cheap shot on this guy, he wants to go the Shaman, and then they would start blowing their load on the Shaman. But you need to know that this is a build. He's building a kidney. So I sheep, and then I also try to blast wave him out of earthen. I tried to do like a cheeky play here to get him out of the earthen wall totem. Basically earthen just reduces, it's like a 30% damage duck or something like that. So I try to blast wave him out. He barely gets hit like on the edge of it. So I know I have to veins this one in the opener. This is not ideal. You usually don't want to have to veins the first go. But I, you know, realize that he's in earthen. So if we want to force here, I have to use icy veins. I get more. I root his roll. Now I just need to focus on surviving till the next go, because I have a Shaman who, you know, is gonna play really aggressive on me, and a monk who's popping Serenity. However, if you notice here, this guy's playing Greater Purge, so he actually can't purge anymore. So I pop Altar, I Trinket Altar rather, and I'm also just kiting the pets here. Let's say the Shaman was playing Purge, something that I would have done. I would have done this exact same thing had he been playing regular Purge. So I blink out of his line, kiting him. I'm lining the Shaman the whole time I have Altar time up. And then I get kind of low, so I alter back. I blink over here. Keep in mind my displacement beacon's over there. I wait for him to use a mobility option, and then I displacement back. So I alter back, which refunds me a blink. I use another one. Displace. The pre-gouge. Now this is kind of a sketchy scenario because the Shaman is actually playing this really well. He dropped a pre-grounding on the cheap shot. So I actually would not have time to sheep and kill the grounding. So I have to Ring of Frost this one. And it's kind of a sketchy Ring of Frost because you can see he's on like the tomb and my nameplate was kind of covering it. So this was kind of sketchy, but it still worked out. So I ring it, it barely hits him. I start with a Ring of Fire, Orb, because I don't have a Glacial built up and I don't have a Ray of Frost. So this is how your go would look like if you didn't have a Glacial. You would try to get the Ring of Fire, you would Orb, and then you would start spamming Lances. This is like the worst kind of go that you can have though. Ideally you want to have a Glacial. He also pre-walled this, so not going to do too much damn. I just send my Glacial. You can see here, getting kind of low, might have to send my first Ice Block. I wait for him to get to me to send my first Ice Block, because I want him to have to use as much mobility as possible. So you can see I get Tiger's Lust and Whirling, is this a Flying Serpent Kick? So I'm forcing out so many mobility options before I have to block. That's going to help us later on. So my rogue sets up his own go, however he is disarmed, so this was a bit preemptive. So basically what I should have done here is recasted a sheep onto the monk on the gouge, and then swapped it, so I'll tell you here. So he sends this and this. What I need to do was cast a sheep and then shimmer into his line to get the resheep. As soon as the disarm would end and the blind was about to end, I would switch the sheep. So I sheep the Shaman. I parry to remove my snare because I'm just snare walking and I need to get to this guy as soon as I can. Show you that again. Sheep. Remove my snare here. Flurry, Badge, Resheep, Glacial, Ice Nova, and he barely dies, thankfully. So that's why you ideally want a Glacial built up for the go. But yeah, let's get into the next game here. Probably gonna only do one more game. Let's see. We'll do this comp because I feel like these are two classes that people might struggle into traditionally. So they do a weird opener because I don't know, but typically I'll tell you guys how this game would go typically. Waiting for the game to start. So typically you can see like it's already a minute into the game. How this usually goes is the hunter would just open on you from camo. He would wait as long as he can, and then he would open on you from camo. But this guy basically isn't doing that. He's just kind of sitting on a pillar. If they do open on you, your goal is to immediately like shimmer on top of them and DB sheep them, or just blink on top of them in general and get a DB sheep. And then what you want to do off that sheep is ring around them, drop the smoke bomb, and then you should have a pretty good first go on the hunter. So we do something like that. However, it's a lot easier. It's like basically being handed to us because these guys didn't really know how the matchup went, I guess. So we kind of get it for free. So one thing to note here, my rogue kind of screws up the bomb. The bomb needs to be very centered around the ring. However, it's kind of also my fault because I rung at a time where basically he couldn't get in position in time, but maybe he should stay a little bit closer. You can see if he were to have walked into the middle, well, he should resap here. Resap, get further in, and then ring around. Sorry, drop the bomb. Because the Feral can just walk into the little edge of the bomb here and then get a global on my rogue. Luckily, he just walks into it. And the hunter trades trinket immediately, which is good. I'm saving my blink here because I want this hunter to think. He doesn't know if I'm blink stun or shimmer. They don't know off the bat. So I want him to go for a trap global off this. So he traps. You can see. And then I blink it. That accomplishes two things. He wastes his trap basically, and now I successfully avoided the trap, so he doesn't have it for me or my rogue. He has double tap and rapid fire up, so my goal here is to look to interrupt this rapid fire that's about to go off. I know he wants to do it. I'm just kind of like dead zoning him. As soon as he does it, I'm looking to DB it. He actually doesn't go for it, so I put him into the pre-panda. And then my rogue cheap shots for me. However, he is in cat. He trinkets instantly, so this should immediately be a blind on the trinket. Instead, he kidneys it, which is fine too, I guess, but it would be cleaner if that was just a blind global. And then we just try to kill through here. Displace back on top of him. Boom. Now, obviously, this team was a little inexperienced. I think this is actually kind of a hard matchup for RM if they go the rogue. You can see here, we still pretty much kind of lose this because my rogue is getting barreled. He dances for the heal, which is good because you have Soothing Dark. Gouges. I kind of miss my ring. Feral Frenzy's on my rogue now. I try to bandage him. He kidneys at least before he dies. I get a nice Glacial. Now this is like technically an impossible 1v1 here, but this team is a bit inexperienced, like I said. I notice I have Flurry into Ray here, so I get Ice Flows up and I can do it while moving. I blink CS that, DB. I even played Snowdrift because I knew how often this matchup goes down to a 1v2 or like a 1v1. So I actually took it knowing that it might happen. Snowdrift is a stun. However, you can see anytime he shifts out of form, it resets Snowdrift. I think Snowdrift is actually really weak in that aspect, that if someone uses a movement reset, a movement in pairing like reset, like Tiger's Lust or Freedom or Shifting, it actually resets the stun, so it won't proc on him if he keeps shifting. But anyways, that's all I really have. I guess we could actually just watch this warrior game too. Why not? Just because 25 minutes is like a weird number. If we can do it kind of quick. Alright, we'll do it quickly. Alright, so this is your ideal opener into this comp. Basically, you can't build a kidney because you can't sap a warrior because they have berserker rage. Like I said, ideally before, you want to like sap the kill target and then build on this guy. You also can't build on the Mistweaver because he has port and he can stun wall port. So there's just a lot of things preventing you from building. So this is just one of those where you have to go in a cheap shot. So I flurry, badge, Ray, not Vainsing. He trades immediately. That's the difference between high rated and low rated teams, is these teams respect our damage more than they should. They trade their trinkets instantly. Whereas like the good teams will try to really greed on these goes. He drops the banner, but it's so far. I actually pre-root on the Stormbolt, and then he gets snared from the freezing cold, I think the talent is. So I've peeled the Stormbolt here for my rogue, which is really good. He basically just takes no damage in the Stormbolt, and then he can disarm him right off. I get a slow up on his Tiger's Lust. He's in the spear. Your rogue actually can't get out of the spear anymore with cloak. So I opt to just double ring because I noticed that he wastes his revival early on. So this is just a free double ring. I pop my veins on this one because I didn't have a glacial built up. If I had a glacial here, I would have considered not veinsing. But like I said, I didn't have a glacial, so I know I needed to use a lot of individual globals, such as orb and like a lot of lances. And if I didn't have increased haste for that, I wouldn't have had the globals to kill this guy. And it's not the worst case in the world if you have to veins the second go, because like I said, it lasts long enough that you should be able to extend it to the third one. So the monk trinkets, I don't really like this blind because we auto win next go since I have no trinkets and we have blind. And he trinket cocoons, so basically we just can't win this go. It shouldn't matter too much. I fake reflect here, fire blast it, link nova him, just trying to peel my rogue here as much as I can. Full sheep. I guess I misspaced this a little bit and I accidentally broke it with shifting. I juked his kick there, resheep. I'm just trying to get as much pre as I can. And I actually do another mistake here because DBDR fell in like 0.001 seconds. You can see here, fake the kick, pre-sheep, fake the monk's kick, DB. The DR was so close to being off. Doesn't matter too much. I get the sheep. A better monk would be better positioned here. Like if he was over here, he would be able to port this polymorph cast, but he did not. So I don't really have the biggest damage here. Like I said, I have to flurry, orb, and then just spam lances. I do have veins for it though, so it works out. And then yeah, that's kind of how Frost RM2s goes a lot. One thing that I should be doing more is orbing in between goes. What this is going to do is it's going to farm you your DB back quicker. So just to give you a little example, let me just back it up a little bit. Oh, I went back a lot. Hold on. So for example here, I don't have a glacial built up and I don't have DB. What I could have done here was dropped an orb, but you don't want to drop it on the targets because you don't want the CC to break. So I could have dropped the orb like here. And then, but I would have had to do it way before this because the DRs are off. Ideally, you want to do it around a time like maybe like right here. So I would probably orb here, then I would start lancing to build my DB back. This would also build up your glacial. Probably should have done it like right here. Trinket this maybe. I'm just trying to give you guys an idea. This game, I couldn't really do it. I'm just trying to tell you generally, like the point in the game where you would want to look to farm your DB back and build your glacial for next go is like this time when the DRs are falling. I couldn't in this exact scenario because I was peeling my rogue. Sometimes you can't, like in this games, but I'm just trying to illustrate the timing of when you should be looking to do that. If not, then you have to use it like this, and then against better teams, they might recognize that they can hold their cooldowns here. But anyways, that's all I really have. Hope you guys enjoyed the commentary, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Peace.